Hi everyone, my name is Matthew Moser. I'm a software engineer over here at Itemus, and today I'm going to be walking you through the Secure tool and how you can increase your productivity using keyboard shortcuts. Keyboard shortcuts are something that you may or may not be familiar with. There are some very common ones that are pretty ubiquitous, like Control and C to copy and Control and V to paste. I'm going to be walking you through some keyboard shortcuts that you can use to optimize your workflow within the Secure tool. Some of these are going to be universal shortcuts that will work on any aspect of your computer, and some are going to be built in specifically to the tool itself through its key maps. Uh, I will specify if one is a universal thing that you can practice when doing things like account creation on a website or even just browsing the internet as a whole. But let's talk a little bit about the reasoning for using keyboard shortcuts instead of just using a keyboard and mouse combination. So computers, when they originally were starting to become consumer products, did not traditionally come with a mouse. A mouse was something that was created much later on, so navigation was done entirely through the keyboard. And while this may be a little bit tricky to learn at first, what it allows you to do is very quickly edit and add information to any sort of document that you're working on. And the reason for this is that you don't have to go from typing something out with both of your hands on the keyboard to moving your right or your left hand away from your keyboard to select something, bringing it back over, and then continuing to type. Instead, you'll be able to very quickly go through all the editable fields, add your information, and go through the document or whatever you're doing without leaving the keyboard itself, so your hands can essentially remain stationary, which, while that may seem like it will only save a little bit of time, once you get the hang of it, you'll be amazed at how quickly you can go through documents and really just edit information. So I'm going to bring us over into the tool now. So here we are within the Secure tool. You may notice two things. One, I'm wearing a different shirt. I'm recording this on a different day. I just wasn't happy with how it came out. And two, you can see below me that there is a keyboard and some arrow keys. This is a representation of what I'm personally entering in to the program itself. So if I go ahead to our item definition, go to components, and say I wanted to change the name of the system element to ECU, you can see exactly what my keyboard inputs are, and this will be really helpful for learning some of the shortcuts. So we're gonna go ahead and take it from the top. When you open your project, it should look something like this. Here we can see our ISO 21434 solution and our project 30, which is what I call this particular Tara. Being able to navigate this editor with your keyboard is going to be very vital in terms of moving around quickly. And let's first go over how we can change which view we are looking at our model and where we're looking at either our project, the inspector, or the main editor. So the first thing to know is that when you are in the tool, if you ever want to go to the main editor itself, being what is currently shown here in gray, you're always just going to hit escape, and that will bring you into control of that editor. Even though I hit escape, nothing happened because I don't have anything open. If we want to look at particular aspects of our project itself, say in our project directory or in the inspector, we're going to hold Alt, and then we're going to press the number that is correlated to either the project explorer or the inspector. Here you can see that there's a 1 next to project, and that means that that is going to be the number key that we press. So holding Alt and pressing 1, we just closed it. Pressing it again, we were able to open it. I'm then able to explore this particular section using the arrow keys and using the left and right arrow keys to either shrink or expand the selection that I currently have. I could do the same thing with the inspector here, and I can open that up. We could see the information. In this case, there are no nodes selected, so there's nothing for us to interact with here. So we'll go back over to the inspector, and let me actually close the inspector, go back over to the project window. If for whatever reason I decide that this window is a little bit too large and I want to actually shrink the size of it, what I can do is I can hold Control and Shift, and then using the arrow keys, I can expand or contract this as much as I need to for the project that I'm working on. Now let's talk about actually going through the Tara process. So when we're looking at our project, one of the things that I do to really boost my productivity is that I'm already pretty familiar with all of the different elements that are present within the Tara project here. I kind of know where my item definition is, everything that I'm kind of looking for in terms of reporting. So I don't typically like to search through this project tree anymore. What I end up doing is, let me take us back to the main editor by hitting escape. I hold control and hit N, and what this does is it pulls up a search for node names. And with this, I can search any node term for the name in our project. So if I'm looking for components, you can see here I'm typing components, it brings up project 30. If I had multiple Tara solutions, it would give me 2 components, one for project 30 and the other for the other project. Additionally, if I'm looking for, say, damage scenarios, we can see that it's there. It even gives me damage scenario assignment because it fits that same string. So it's a very helpful way to quickly go where you need to within the tool. In this instance, let's just go over to components. So we can see here that I am now in the component node, and this is where I can start adding some information. It starts me off at the first component, and I'll just give this a name of system. Now I want to go over to the stored data. I could use my mouse, click over to here, hit Control Space to get the dropdown, and then create the data as needed. But moving the mouse over can take a bit more time and is just something that I'm not looking to do. I'm looking to just add information to this particular component as quickly as I possibly can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Tab, and that's going to take me directly over to the next part of information that we can edit within our system. So I could go ahead and create new data here. I can hit Tab again, and I could go over to the technology component. Now I could hit either the down on the arrow key, or I could hit Tab if I was looking to move forward in this particular tree where there are more components, but I'm going to go ahead and add a child component here, bring me down to the child component section here, and then here's where I'll stop for the sake of demonstration. Let's say that I'm at this point in the Tara process, and you know what? I made a mistake actually. The technology section for the system should actually have some information. There should be a tag there. So what I could do is by holding Shift and hitting Tab, I could quickly bring myself up there. And depending on how far that is, it may make more sense to use the mouse just to quickly scroll up or down and then select. But if it's something like I'm working on new component 2 and oh, I actually need to store data here, I can quickly go ahead and do so this way and then add all the information that's necessary. Additionally, when we're in this particular view, something that's really helpful to know about components is that when we're looking at this, we're looking at the hierarchy. So we have new component 1 as our parent, the system being the root parent for the file, and we have new component 2 present within here. Say I made a mistake here, and I actually meant for new component 2 to be a sibling for new component 1. I could go ahead and delete it, but that would take some time away from my work. If it's linked to other processes, there are some dangling references or other parts of our Tara that may reference new component 2, but now new component 2 doesn't exist, so they're dangling. They're references that, while yes, they existed at one point, don't actually function within the tool anymore. So what I can do here is I can hold Shift and I can highlight everything that's present here. And then by holding Control and Shift, I can move this component up. And what we see here is that this is now a sibling component of new component 1. Additionally, if I was looking to say move a larger tree of components, say new component 1 should be at the same level of system, but it obviously has some some child components to it, doing the same thing, holding Shift and pressing down, you can see that everything here is highlighted, and then by holding Control and Shift, I can move it up and down. This typically won't work in this current project setup because system is your base element. It really should be the root of your project itself. But say I made another component within here, and I wanted to say that both of these child should be within the same level as their parents. I could go ahead and do so as that, or I could nest them as a child to this particular component. So there's a lot that you can do in terms of optimizing your workflow within the component section here. And the same sort of information can be applied to other sections as well. So let's go on over to data. Here we're in the new our data section. We can see I have 2 sets of data. I could go ahead and I can add sibling data here, have that information present. And then once I have all my data set, let's say I want to start applying that to components. Now I could go either to the top of here, go back to that directory. I could go ahead and do a search here for components, and that would pull it up. Another way that I could get back over to that component section is if I hold Control and press E. We could see that it opens up some recent files that I have. So in this case, components is right there for selection. I could just go over there, press enter, it'll take me there. But let's say I already have everything kind of set up. I don't want to go through the search again. I just want to shift over between what tab I'm focusing on. So the way that you would do this is that you would hold Alt and then left or right on your your arrow keys. You'll be able to move between the two just as you want to. It's a very simple way to quickly navigate throughout your project, and depending on what your preferred workflow is or what you find to be the easiest, you'll really grow to just appreciate that particular workflow. One thing that I do want to recommend is that especially if you're looking to incorporate some of these key bindings, the tab, so the moving forward and moving backward through shift tab being moving backward through elements that are editable within this particular window. This is something that you can actually do in any program or even any website. So if you've ever gone and created a, we'll say Gmail account, for instance, it can be a pretty tedious process. Have to put your name, first name, then last name, 2 separate boxes, maybe a phone number, your name that you want your Gmail account to have, a password, a box to confirm that password, and that's a lot of clicking and a lot of busy work that can be really expedited by just using tab. So in that case, if we were looking at our information here, so this would be our first name, we could go ahead and type first name, then our next section is last name. Obviously I can't do this because it's taking a selection instead of a string, but you can go ahead and use tab or shift tab to completely go through that sort of document. And once you start using that, you'll be able to really incorporate it within the tool itself. And before you know it, you'll be flying through this process in no time. You'll be able to just really quickly handle everything that you're working on. And of course, when you are wanting to look at a more visual representation, we can go over to our system diagram just to confirm the work that we've done. The system diagram does not have any shortcuts associated with it. It is a visual representation, and it is designed for the mouse cursor specifically. So you won't be able to interact with it in that way. But if you're looking to do some text editing of your item definition or just go through the TAR process as a whole, this is a really fast way to be able to do so. So we could go to like damage scenario assignment. We're here, we could go ahead and refresh the page. Obviously we don't have any damage scenarios, but it's very, very quick to be able to just travel to wherever you want to within your project. So that about covers everything for today. I highly recommend as well, if you are looking to further customize your controls here, you can go to the key maps, and within the key maps you can customize everything down to even creating your own macros, which is really helpful if you have a different IDE or tool that you enjoy the shortcuts for and you kind of want to bring those over. You could do so through here. One thing that I want to demonstrate that is very, very helpful is that we can actually search for actions by either the action name. So let's say a action is to confirm something, and another action is to, one action is to confirm, but we don't know how that is actually done. We could press that key, in this case it's escape, and we can see any sort of key binds that are present. This is the same where we could do it with our mouse. So in double clicking, we can see that it pulls up complete. So it's all dependent on how you want to search for that information or what information you have. You're very easily able to go through, quickly find what the key map combination is, and either learn that for yourself or change it to fit your needs. So that covers everything for today. I hope you were able to learn something helpful for your TAR process. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below and we'll try to answer them when we can. Outside of that, thank you and have a nice day.